All right, hello everyone. Welcome back to the Fan Sports Podcast. Devin here. Logan is not here today. He's out, taking care of some other priorities. So he'll be back next episode, I'm sure. But for now, today it's just me, and I have two special guests here, Chris and Connor, here with us today. So welcome to the show, guys.
Yep.
All right, so we're just gonna get started real quick here with the NCAA, and my bracket is destroyed. I don't know about you guys, but mine is gone already. So let's start in the southern region. Kentucky, they came out on top of Davidson. Was a close game, though. 78-73, Kentucky came out with the victory. And perhaps the biggest shocker in the South, Arizona. They get smacked, 89-68. So we'll start with Squid. What did you think of that game?
They looked ugly. Arizona was a much better team than Buffalo on all fronts, and yet they got destroyed. They came out, and it didn't look like they wanted the game, and Buffalo just wanted it a lot more. Buffalo's well coached by Nate Oates, and look for him to move up. Actually, he just signed an extension. Look for him mid-contract to move up, because this Buffalo team has been playing well under the radar for quite some time.
All right, so Saba, how about you? What did you make of the game? How Arizona played, and more importantly, how Buffalo played, and if they have any chance against Kentucky in the next round?
I think they have a good chance. As long as Kentucky struggles from three, like they did against Davidson, you're always in the game. You can shoot, and Buffalo shot really well against Arizona. Ayton didn't play very well. That also hurt. And Alonzo Trier couldn't find anything from the field. Part of the reason why they lost. And Buffalo just out-rebounded them, I would say.
So, we saw Kentucky, they took care of Davidson. Relatively close game, if I recall. It was pretty back and forth, if I remember correctly. Arizona...
Yeah, 5-point lead.
Yeah. Arizona completely dominated in the second half. They got crushed. Wasn't even close. I had Arizona going a far ways. How about you guys? Where did you have Arizona ending up? Or did you have them getting upset in the first round?
I had Arizona in my Sweet 16. I have them losing to Virginia. And I really thought they could have made some noise this year. They have a lot of talent with 2 first-round picks. And if the Pac they didn't come out. They had 0 wins in the first round. They're not going to put any team into the round of 32. So I think this is more a statement of how weak the Pac is than where Arizona is. So I only had them in the Sweet 16, but I know a lot of people had them going far.
Right, and you have to think for the Pac-12, very disappointing in the college season this year. You look at football, I think they were, 1-7 in bowl games.
Yeah.
And you come to basketball, 0-3, they don't move team on. So, very disappointing for the Pac-12. Let's move on to the other upset in the southern region so far. Loyola Chicago pulled out a game winner against Miami yesterday. They take out Miami 64-62. Sabo, what do you think of Loyola? Do they have a shot? And we know the other game was just an onslaught. Tennessee taking down Wright State. Do you think Loyola has any chance against Tennessee?
I do. They got the hot hand right now, coming in with a lot of confidence. They don't fear anyone. I believe that they've won, I want to say, 11 out of their last 13 games coming in the tourney. They shoot great from beyond the arc, and that helps and it hurts. But if they get hot, they can just keep it on you, I guess. And I don't really know all that much about Tennessee other than they're very good defensively. So it should be a fun game.
And Squid, how about you? Did you have Loyola upsetting Miami in that second? Well,
I have Loyola upsetting Miami, and I have Loyola upsetting Tennessee. I have them in my Sweet 16.
Oh, interesting.
I have
so
a lot of confidence in this team.
What do you think sets Loyola apart, perhaps, from Tennessee? And we saw they were set apart from Miami.
I think something that's overlooked going into the tournament is how hot a team is coming into the tournament, and Loyola was on fire coming into the tournament. And when you win a game like that against a proven team like Miami, it gives you a lot of confidence coming in. Yeah. And Tennessee, they've been hot, but they lost in
the championship game to Kentucky, and clearly after the first game, it looked like Kentucky wasn't as good as they've seen. So maybe the SEC is a little bit weak, and Loyola can come in and win this game.
All right, so that about wraps up for the Southern region. We had Cincinnati taking care of Georgia State today, and that was well expected, I think, a 2 seed and a 15 seed. You expect Cincinnati to come out with the W on that one, especially with their defense, which I've been told is their best piece of their team. So we move on to the Western region. We still have Xavier and Missouri, Florida State. They have to play. You guys expect Xavier to come out on top, the number 1 seed in the West?
Oh, yeah.
All right, so Texas Southern, probably not the best choice if you made that in your bracket, but we'll see what happens. Missouri, Florida State, 8 and 9 seed, could go either way. We've seen a couple of them go back and forth. North Carolina State, we'll get to them in a minute. Midwest, they lost the 9 seed, so we didn't see that minor upset occur. Kansas State, KSU against Creighton? They still have to play. And we saw Alabama beat Virginia Tech last night. So we'll see how that pans out. Ohio State, they defeated South Dakota State. It was a thriller there up until the end. I think Ohio State took advantage of the last couple minutes to bump the differential in the score. But South Dakota State, they put up a fight, don't you guys think?
Oh, yeah, they definitely did. Great game.
So they put up 73 on Ohio State, a Big Ten team. And then they're going to move on to face Gonzaga, who won 68-64. So that was a close game. So, Squid, what do you think of Gonzaga OSU? Who do you think is going to come out on top there? Did you have both of them moving on?
I actually had South Dakota State over Ohio State, and I regret that now. And I have Gonzaga in my Final Four, and that's a little scary after watching that game. They barely won. It took some late-game heroics for them to pull off a win against a 13 seed. So, at this point, after the first game, you'd have to lean towards Ohio State.
Yeah, and I can concur. I also have Gonzaga in my Final Four, and I had South Dakota State beating OSU. Mostly in spite, because I do go to Penn State, but, we'll see where it goes. Houston. Now, Houston-San Diego State, maybe my favorite game of the night. That was an entertaining finish. Sable, we'll start with you. Did you like the way San Diego State, Houston, they played their games? Houston obviously comes out on top. How do you like Houston moving forward?
I think Houston's quite a dangerous team. They played very well in their conference tourney. Just coming up short against, I want to say, it was Wichita State who won their conference championship, I believe. And they just shoot the ball real well from all parts of the field. They got an outstanding guard in Ron Gray. And they are pretty well defensively. So I think that they have a good shot. Michigan played very well, or poor in their first game. So, I mean, it should be a fun game going forward. I have Michigan to the Final Four. So I hope Michigan wins, and I think that it should be a great game. But I wouldn't be surprised if Houston beats them by 8 or 9.
Yeah, and you have to think Michigan's first game up against Montana, their defense was stout, only giving up 47 points in the NCAA tournament. Rather impressive, don't you think, Squid?
Oh, yeah, I would have to agree. Another experienced squad. Michigan always comes in, it seems, to the tournament with a lot of steam. And they won their Big Ten tournament. And they're a favorite for a lot of people to go to the Final Four from this bracket because it's so up in the air. If they get through this game, UNC's been unpredictable. And with Michigan's defense, they could move on. But this will be an interesting matchup. Houston has been underseeded, and it'll be interesting to see how they come out against a strong Michigan team.
Yeah. And then we saw Texas A&M. They took care of Providence today. The 7th seed moves on. UNC looks like they're going to edge out Lipscomb. I didn't think Lipscomb had, a 0.1% chance of winning that game, but you never know. And obviously I was right here, 76-57 at the current moment of this recording. UNC's on top. So it looks like they'll come out to face Texas A&M. The winner faces Houston or Michigan. Move on to the Midwest. Kansas took care of Penn. That was expected. Seton Hall, NC State. NC State I thought would come out a little stronger, but Seton Hall came out with the W's 94-83, putting up 94 points in the NCAA tournament. Not a small feat. Clemson, New Mexico State, they have to play Auburn, and the 13 seed, which I'm blanking on their name right now, but they have to play.
Charleston.
That's right. So they have to play TCU, Syracuse still playing, and Michigan, Bucknell have to play as well. URI, Oklahoma, one of the more talked about games. We had Trae Young on Oklahoma. He couldn't get the job done in overtime. We saw URI take the victory. Sabo, what do you think of the URI team and perhaps Trae Young in Oklahoma?
Well, it was quite an entertaining first game going into overtime. Something that everyone wants to see going into the tourney. And Trae Young, he's their entire heart and soul of Oklahoma. He played an outstanding game. Put up, I want to say, 28 points. Turned the ball over a little bit, though. Got a little reckless near the end. And URI they have tourney experience. They've been here the last 3 years. They won, I want to say, a game each year. And they look even better this year than they did last year. I mean, it was a great game. I don't see URI beating Duke, but I think URI played very well.
Yeah, and you mentioned Duke. They, the 2 seed, took on Iona, beat them 89-67. So that matchup is set, Duke, Rhode Island. And Rhode Island, they were loaded with those seniors with that experience, like you mentioned, so maybe that pushed them past Oklahoma. So the last division, the East, Villanova takes care of Radford. Not sure that's a big surprise to anyone. We move on to Virginia Tech and Alabama. Squid, we'll start with you. Alabama, they elevate themselves. They get past Vatek. How do you think they plan out moving forward against the number 1 seed, Villanova?
I think Villanova's size will help them win here. They have scores, they have talent, but star power is what prevails sometimes in the tournament. And when you watch Colin Sexton play, you see a star on the court. So if there's anything that would make this game toss-up, it would be Colin Sexton's play. But he would have to play out of his mind from the beat Villanova, as I think Villanova's a vastly better team.
Yeah, and I have Villanova winning the whole bracket in my bracket. So for my sake, I hope Villanova comes out on top. But I hope it is an entertaining game, as we all do in the NCAA bracket. That's what we're looking for. West Virginia, Murray State, currently playing in San Diego. West Virginia's up 20-15 at the current moment. That could always change, of course. Wichita State, another big upset here. The 4 seeds out. Marshall takes them down. I wasn't able to watch this game. I'm not sure. Were either of you able to watch it?
Yes.
And so, what did you think of Marshall and the lack of victory from Wichita State? Marshall obviously moving on to face the winner of West Virginia, Murray State. How do you think Marshall's future pans out?
Well, Marshall played one heck of a game. They were unstoppable from beyond the arc in the second half. They shot almost 50% from beyond the arc after halftime. And Wichita State, their heart and soul is Frank Camp, who looks like he's 25, but he had 27 points, a career high. He shot 6 or 7 threes, but Marshall just came out and basically punched them in the mouth in the last few minutes and just took the game away.
All right, so we'll look forward to seeing Marshall. They'll face the winner of the game that's going on right now. West Virginia, the favorite in that game. Florida beat St. Bonaventure 77-62. They'll move on. 6th seed. No upset there. Texas Tech took care of SF Austin 70-60. That was rather close there for a little bit in the first half. I was getting a little worried, but then they came out, collected themselves, and Texas Tech comes out with the victory. Another upset looming. Butler in Arkansas currently playing. Butler's up 53-42. Butler always a strong tournament team, if I recall. So, Squid, we'll start with you. Butler, Arkansas, how do you see this matchup playing out as it winds down?
I would say Butler's going to win. Arkansas, they have the chance to go on a run at any time because of that press that they like to run. Watching the game, you could see the press get to Butler a little bit when they started to come back. But when you start as slow as they did in the game, especially a game when all the stakes are on the line, both teams are going at it, they're giving everything they got, it's hard to make that difference up. I think Butler will hold on to win, but look for a late surge from Arkansas late with that full court press making a run late in the game.
All right, so that game still to be determined at the moment of this recording. Purdue, they take care of CSU Fullerton, 74-48. No big surprise there. The Big Ten team comes out on top, the 2 seed. So I'm going to go ahead and switch gears here real fast. We're going to go to the NHL, so we'll be right back. Stay tuned. All right, welcome back, guys. We're here for this segment of the podcast. We're going to be talking about the NHL for the first time on the show. Connor, Chris are still here with me as my special guests. I would say out of the Fam Sports group, we're the hockey knowledge people here. So it's a good thing that we're all here. All right, so last night we had 9 games on the schedule. My team, the Pittsburgh Penguins, I think we're all in favor of the Penguins here as on Fam Sports. They beat the Canadiens 5-3. So one of the potential Hart candidates this season, Evgeny Malkin on the Penguins, of course. We'll start with Sabo on this one. Do you think Malkin has any chance of winning it over Nikita Kucherov?
Oh, for sure. I would place him at number 2 right now, just behind Kucherov. Not because of him being behind in the point race, only by a couple, and the goals. But I think that if you take him away, Pens are a borderline playoff team at best. And I want to say Kucherov is number 1 only because of his entire body of work. He's been an absolute stud the entire season, whereas Malkin has really turned it on since the calendar year flip. So I would go on full body work as of compared to just half the season, even though he's my own guy from my own team. But I also think that Nathan McKinnon has got to get a lot of recognition. That team without him, they wouldn't even be close to the playoff race. And with him, they're right there. They're a wild card team right now.
Yeah, I can totally agree. Right now, number 4 in the points race is Nathan McKinnon. 85 points, but get this, only 62 games played as compared to the 68 of Kucherov and Malkin and the 70 of Connor McDavid. So, right in the thick of things, he still has a very good chance of making it, still with some games to be played. Very impressive, though, for Colorado. A turnaround team this year. Last year, obviously, not even close to the playoffs. We also look on time on ice, right? And Nikita Kucherov versus Evgeny Malkin, I would say those are the 2 favorites at the moment. Malkin, a minute less time on ice than Nikita Kucherov, and a whole 5% shooting percentage better. So, Squid, we'll move to you. Who's your favorite for the Hart?
I would still have to say Kucherov. If you look over the last 18 years, 14 of the last 18 Art Ross trophies have also won the Hart. It's just the way the thing is, the way the award goes in the NHL is they award the person with the most points. And also his team in the running right now to win the President's Trophy. So you look at his excellence that has coincided with his team's excellence. And with Evgeny Malkin, his team was struggling at the beginning half of the year, and then when he kicked it on, as Sabo said, the team really turned it on, and they've heated up. But they haven't done it the whole year. They might be in the running for the President's Trophy, but as it sits now, the Capitals have a better chance to win their division.
Yeah, so you mentioned the President's Trophy. We'll segue into that really quickly. The 2 favorites right now, Tampa Bay Lightning, and somewhat surprising to me, the Nashville Predators up there. Nashville, obviously number 1 at the moment, 102 points on the season already, with still 12 games to play. So, we look at the President's Trophy race, Sabo, who do you think will come out on top? Do you think it'll be the Nashville Predators, the Tampa Bay Lightning, or could someone else make a late run to perhaps surpass them?
Chris?
Oh, sorry. I thought you said Squid. My bad.
That's okay.
I like the Predators. I've liked them all year. I thought their D core is extremely strong. Everyone on their top four is on their national teams, respectively. And Pecorine is an absolute beast in that. I think that they're so deep and they're very experienced, and they play extremely well at home. I would really think that the Preds would get it, although I think the Lightning will come up just a point or two short.
Yeah.
I like the Preds.
Yeah, so we look at the last 10, both teams very impressive. Lightning 8-1-1 in their last 10, Predators 9-0-1 in their last 10. So both teams, they're getting hot at the right times. They've been hot the whole season, but you want your team to get hot going into the playoffs. We've seen that with the Pittsburgh Penguins the last 2 years. Start off really rocky, and they've made their way to the Stanley Cup and have taken it back-to-back years, looking for their 3-year run at getting the Stanley Cup Finals. So let's move over into the Pacific Division. The leader right now, the Vegas Golden Knights. Very, very shocking to me. At the beginning of the season, if you told me the Vegas Golden Knights would be number one in their division, I would have told you you're full of it. And they would have been where the Arizona Coyotes are right now at 57 points. So we'll start with Squid this time. The Vegas Golden Knights, do they have a chance in the playoff picture?
Everyone's doubted them all year, that it's hard at this point to say that they don't. I still don't see them coming out. I don't even see them coming out of their own division. I see San Jose or Los Angeles beating them. The Kings have been there before. Sharks have been there before. Those are finals teams built on their blue line, and that's what wins when it comes time for the playoffs. They have a lot of depth, especially with the Kings. You have a lot of depth. The Sharks, they have a lot of depth. And I don't think the Vegas Knights, you saw with that Tomas Tatar trade that they were desperate. And they're reaching right now. And the Kings and the Sharks are both confident in where they stand. I see them beating the Vegas Knights, whoever comes out of that matchup.
Interesting. So, you think the Vegas Golden Knights, do you think they'll win a couple games in a series perhaps, or will they get swept?
I could see it going 7. They're a physical team, and that usually bodes well when it comes time for the postseason. Sometimes physicality can make up for talent. You saw last year, Pittsburgh Penguins go 7 games against the Ottawa Senators. No one would have expected that. With a team like Vegas that checks the way they do in the playoffs, that always makes a difference. So I could see it being a very close series, but I see either Los Angeles or San Jose coming out on top.
Yeah. So we look in the Western playoff picture, and 5 of the Western teams right now have less than 10 losses at home, which is critical in the playoffs. If you ask me, you need to win the home games if you're going to win the series, especially if you're a lower seed. So the Washington Capitals, always in the playoff picture. They are right now leading the Metropolitan, tied with the Penguins, but they do have 2 games in hand on the Penguins, so I think they'll come out as the number 1 seed in the Metropolitan. But we'll have to see how the rest of the season pans out. Their star player, Alex Ovechkin, their captain, just eclipsed the 600-goal mark, which no small feat by any means. I think is he 3rd leading scorer now in the NHL history? I'm not sure.
Yeah, he's the leading scorer. So in terms of goals, yeah, he's leading scorer.
Yeah. So here's what I'm going to ask you guys. Obviously, the debate is up. Is Alex Ovechkin the greatest goal scorer of all time? My opinion, no way, Jose. He's not close. I think Wayne Gretzky, Mario Lemieux, they pass him. They're the number 2. They're the number 1 and 2 players in NHL history. So, Sabo, we'll start with you. Is Alex Ovechkin one of the greatest NHL players?
one of the greatest NHL players? Yes. The best goal scorer? No. Even though he's incredibly good at it, you got to go with the old guys. You got to go with Lemieux. You got to go with Gretzky. I mean, their points per game and goals per game is off the charts. They put up almost 2 points a game. I mean, that would never happen now. I mean, Ovechkin is insanely good, and he puts up ridiculous numbers for today's era. But overall, no, because he's never going to eclipse their records.
So, Squid, we'll move on to you. Do you think Alex Ovechkin, could he possibly be greater than Sidney Crosby?
I don't think so. A lot of things are out of his control. You look at the Stanley Cups, and he hasn't won any, and he hasn't even been to the finals. But is that all on him, or is that partially on his teammates? Is that on Backstrom not showing up? Is that on the goalie play, which has always been poor around him come playoff time? And I think that when he goes down in history, he'll go down as the greatest European player of all time. He might be a little worse than Jaromir Jagr. It depends when he leaves for the KHL, but his scoring in this era right now, no one else can replicate it. I don't think he's as good as Gretzky or Lemieux, but it would be very interesting to see what he would do in the 90s with the smaller pads, because he can really shoot the puck.
Yeah.
But unlike Lemieux and Gretzky, I don't think he's as good a stick handler. He can't skate as well. I think he relies partially on someone getting him the puck before he shoots, and that's what separates him from Gretzky and Lemieux. Lemieux and Gretzky could do it on their own, and I think Ovechkin needs someone to help him a little bit more than Lemieux and Gretzky.
Yeah, I agree with that. Another impressive stat for Alex Ovechkin that bodes him well in his career, 100 game-winning goals. That's not something you see very often, if at all, besides the greats. So, Sabo, do you think he perhaps, if he continues to play in the NHL, could win a Stanley Cup? He has 100 game-winning goals. He has 600 goals, over 1,100 points. Do you think he has a chance at the Stanley Cup this year or in any years to come?
I mean, the Capitals always have a chance to win. They always put us together a great team in the regular season. They're always near the top of the Metro Division. So they're always there. They always have a great seed in the playoffs. They always get home ice. But they always falter whenever it comes to playoff time. Whether, like Squid said, it's always either the way Holtby plays down the stretch or Backstrom, he falls off the cliff. And then you got their D-line starts to play worse. I mean, Niskanen plays pretty well. You got Carlson. Orlov just, he drops down a tank whenever it comes to playoff time. I don't know. So they're always there, and their window's closing. Everyone's getting a lot older on that team. Their cap space is not very ideal. So, I mean, if they're going to win, they better do it the next 2 years. Even Ovechkin's he's getting older. I mean, everyone's got to retire at some point. He's getting there. So is Crosby and Malkin. He only got a few years left in that big window, but we're much younger than they are.
Yeah. So, I think I can agree with that. If he's going to win, it's going to be in the next couple years. The Washington Capitals, they are getting older, much like the Pittsburgh Penguins are, with Crosby, Malkin, and Kessel being their three top scorers. So I do think they always have a chance, like you said. One of the greatest teams of the past 10 years when it comes to making the playoffs. The problem is executing once you get into playoffs, which they haven't been able to do. So I'd like to thank you guys for coming on here. We have one more question for you real fast, and it's a pretty straightforward question. We'll start with Squid and then move on to Sabo. Who is your favorite for the Stanley Cup?
The Penguins have won 2 years in a row, and usually it's hard to bet against a team that's won 2 years in a row, but I think the wear and tear is going to get to them this year. I really see this being the Lightning's year. They've always been around the Penguins, and their talent level is incredible. And I really think this is the year for them. They're pulling everything together. Their GM is making moves that good GMs make to win around the postseason. They look like a team that is ready to win. They've been coming up for years. Stamkos is healthy. The blue line is excellent. The goalie play has improved. You look at them scoring, they've outscored almost the entire NHL. They have so much talent. I see them winning.
Yeah, and obviously a trade deadline addition, picking up Ryan McDonough, that really solidifies their defense in my eyes. Really good defensive core, and they have the big name scorers, Steven Stamkos, Nikita Kucherov, but they also have some depth, as we've seen over the years. So, Sabo, we'll move on to you. Who's your favorite for the Stanley Cup?
I agree with everything Squid and you just said, but I have to go with the Bruins. I believe that they are just as deep in every position. It's just a matter of them getting healthy. Because their physical play and the way they can put the puck in the net is second to none. And if Tuukka Rask keep it together and play well during the postseason, he's as good as any goalie. Should be in the Vezina conversation, I believe. And if Charlie McAvoy and Treese Bergeron can stay healthy down the stretch, and if they have Marchand, it is a very, very dangerous team that can score a lot of goals on them. As we've seen with the Penguins. I mean, they blew us out about 2 weeks ago, and that was an ugly, ugly game. And they can do this to any team. It doesn't matter. So my pick is the Bruins. Plus, they're very good home and away.
Yeah. And just as a reference for me, the Nashville Predators take my vote this year. They obviously made it last year. I think in the East, who will come out of the East? I think it'll be the Tampa Bay Lightning. I think they'll get it done. Once they get to the final, the Nashville Predators, the experience from last year against the Pittsburgh Penguins, the depth that they added this year in Nick Bonino, who is also a two-time Stanley Cup champion with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Philip Forsberg, the scorer, Victor Arvidsson, has got some wheels. And obviously the blue line, Roman Josi, Ekholm, Ryan Ellis, PK Subban, the big four. They produce time and time again, so I think that's my favorite. But I can see the chances, the Bruins and the Lightning, they both have a very good chance of making the Stanley Cup final. So I'd like to thank you guys for coming on today, and I'm sure we'll talk to you guys in the future.
All right, thank you.
All right, thanks for having me.